What happens when a beloved television host faces off against royalty in a clash so explosive that it ends with security being called to the studio? In just 33 seconds, one comment would unravel an entire interview and leave audiences watching at home absolutely stunned. This is the story of the morning that changed everything. The This Morning studio was buzzing with its usual energy. Cameras were positioned perfectly, the lighting was warm and inviting, and Allison Hammond sat in her chair with that signature smile that had made her one of Britain's most treasured presenters. She had that natural warmth, that ability to make anyone feel comfortable. But this morning would test every ounce of her professionalism. Prince Harry was the guest. The booking had been massive news. Producers had spent weeks coordinating, making sure every detail was perfect. This was meant to be a friendly chat, a chance for him to discuss his latest charitable work, maybe share some personal insights. Nothing too heavy, just good television. Allison started the way she always did, with genuine enthusiasm and a welcoming energy. "It is such a pleasure to have you here with us this morning," she said, her smile bright and sincere. "I know our viewers have been so excited to hear from you." Harry nodded, but there was something in his expression, a tightness, a guardedness. "Thanks for having me," he replied, his tone flat. Allison, ever the professional, pushed forward. "So, let's talk about the foundation work you've been doing. It's really incredible, the impact you're having on young people across the country." "Yes, well, it's important work," Harry said, his voice carrying an edge. "Though I have to say, the coverage it gets is never quite what it should be." Allison's smile didn't falter. "Well, that's partly why you're here today, isn't it? To shine a light on these amazing projects." "Is it, though?" Harry leaned back in his chair, his arms crossing. "Or is it just another opportunity for the media to twist things, to create narratives that suit their agenda?" The temperature in the studio shifted. Allison could feel it. The crew could feel it. But she kept her composure, kept that warmth in her voice. "I can assure you, we're here to have an honest conversation. That's what this morning is all about." "Honest?" Harry repeated, a bitter laugh escaping. "That's rich coming from the British media." "Well, I understand you've had your challenges," Allison said carefully, "but we genuinely want to hear your perspective today." Harry's jaw tightened. "My perspective." "Right. The perspective that gets edited, chopped up, taken out of context. I'm sure this will be no different." Allison took a breath. "Stay calm. Stay professional. I promise you, we're not here to do that. We want our viewers to hear directly from you, in your own words. Do you know what it's like?" Harry's voice was rising now. "To have every single thing you say analyzed, criticized, turned into a headline?" "I can only imagine how difficult that must be," Allison responded, her tone still gentle, still trying to bring the conversation back. "And I think that's something our viewers would really connect with, hearing about those challenges." "Connect with?" Harry scoffed. "They don't want to connect. They want drama. They want scandal. That's all anyone cares about." The studio was silent, except for their voices. Camera operators stood frozen. Producers in the control room were frantically whispering to each other. This was not going to plan. Allison tried again. "I think you might be surprised. People genuinely care about the work you're doing. They care about mental health, about supporting veterans, about all the causes you champion." "Then why," Harry said, his voice sharp, "is every article about me focused on family drama? Why is every interview an interrogation?" "This isn't an interrogation," Allison said, and for the first time, a hint of firmness entered her voice. "This is a conversation, and I'm trying my best to have one with you." Harry's eyes narrowed. "Are you really? Or are you just waiting for me to say something you can use?" "That's not fair," Allison said, her smile finally fading. "I've been nothing but respectful to you since you sat down." Respectful, Harry said mockingly. Is it respectful to book me for an interview and then act like you're doing me some kind of favor? Allison's expression showed her confusion. I'm sorry, I don't understand. No one said anything about doing you a favor. We were honored that you agreed to come on the show. Honored, Harry repeated. Right. Honored to get the ratings boost. Honored to have a royal on your little morning show. The words hung in the air. Little morning show. The entire crew felt the insult. This wasn't just about Allison anymore. This was about the program they all worked so hard on, the show that millions of people loved and trusted. Allison's posture straightened. I'm sorry, but this morning is a program that millions of people watch every single day. We work incredibly hard to bring quality content to our viewers. Quality content, Harry said dismissively. Is that what you call it? Yes, Allison said firmly. That's exactly what I call it. And I'm proud of what we do here. Harry leaned forward, his voice dripping with condescension. Maybe you should be focusing on actual journalism instead of these fluffy feel-good segments. Excuse me? Allison's voice was steady, but her eyes showed the hurt. We cover serious topics every single day. We discuss mental health, financial struggles, health issues, everything that affects real people's lives. Real people, Harry said with another bitter laugh. And what would you know about real people's struggles? Sitting here in your comfortable studio, reading off a teleprompter. That was it. That was the line. Allison Hammond had built her career on authenticity, on connecting with everyday people, on being relatable and genuine. And here was someone questioning all of that. I grew up in Birmingham, Allison said, her voice calm but strong. I worked multiple jobs before I ever got into television. I know exactly what real struggle looks like, and I've never forgotten where I came from. Harry waved his hand dismissively. Everyone's got a sob story. The crew gasped, audibly gasped. This was beyond uncomfortable now. This was painful to watch. Allison took a moment. She breathed, and when she spoke, her voice was measured and controlled. I think perhaps we should take a break. What's wrong? Harry said, a cruel smile on his face. Can't handle a real conversation? I can handle any conversation, Allison replied, but I won't sit here and be disrespected, and I won't have the people I work with disrespected either. Disrespected? Harry's voice was getting louder. You want to talk about disrespect? Try having your entire life dissected by the press. Try having your family turned against you. Try having every move you make judged by people who have no idea what you're going through. I understand that you're angry, Allison said, still trying to find some common ground. And you have every right to those feelings. But I'm not the enemy here. I'm really not. Aren't you, though? Harry shot back. You're part of the machine. You're all part of it. Part of what machine? Allison asked, her patience finally wearing thin. The media circus, Harry said, standing up now, his voice filling the studio. The same people who drove my mother to her death. The same people who made my life hell. The same people who refused to leave me alone. The invocation of his mother sent a chill through everyone. This was getting deeply personal, deeply painful, and deeply inappropriate for a morning talk show. Nobody here wants to cause you pain, Allison said quietly. Nobody here is trying to hurt you. Then why am I here? Harry demanded. Why did you book me? To make me relive trauma. To get me to talk about things I don't want to discuss. You agreed to come, Allison pointed out. Nobody forced you to be here. Right, Harry said bitterly. Blame me. That's what everyone does. It's always my fault, isn't it? I'm not blaming you for anything, Allison said, her voice tired now. I'm just trying to understand why you came on the show if you didn't want to be here. Because people like you won't stop hounding me, Harry snapped. Request after request. Invitation after invitation. And if I say no, I'm called difficult. I'm called a recluse. I can't win. Then maybe, Allison said gently, you need to have a conversation with your team about which interviews you actually want to do. Harry's face flushed red. Don't tell me what to do. You have no right. I'm not telling you what to do, Allison said, her hands up in a placating gesture. I'm just suggesting that maybe there's a better way to handle this. A better way, Harry repeated mockingly. And what would you know about handling anything? You read questions off cards and smile for the camera. That was too much. The crew could see it in Allison's face. She had tried. She had been patient. She had been kind. But there was only so much anyone could take. I think, Allison said, her voice steel wrapped in velvet, that this interview is over. What? Harry looked genuinely shocked. You're ending it? Yes, Allison said simply. I am. You can't do that, Harry said, his entitlement showing clearly now. Actually, Allison said, standing up from her chair, I can. This is my show, and I won't sit here and be spoken to like I'm beneath you. I never said you were beneath me, Harry protested. You didn't have to say it, Allison replied. It's been clear in every word you've spoken since you sat down. Harry's face was twisted in anger now. This is typical. Absolutely typical. I come here trying to do something positive, and this is what happens. You came here, Allison said, her voice rising slightly, and you've done nothing but insult me, insult my colleagues, and insult this program. There's been nothing positive about any of this. Because you won't listen, Harry shouted. None of you ever listen. I've done nothing but listen, Allison said, her voice breaking slightly. I've sat here and listened to you belittle everything I've worked for. I've listened to you dismiss the struggles I've faced. I've listened to you act like you're the only person who's ever had a hard time. You have no idea what I've been through, Harry said, his voice dangerous. And you have no idea what I've been through, Allison countered, but you don't see me using it as an excuse to treat people poorly. The words hit hard. Harry's face went from red to white. How dare you? How dare I? Allison said, and now her voice was shaking with emotion. How dare I stand up for myself? How dare I expect basic respect? You're just like all the rest, Harry spat. Pretending to care, pretending to be kind, but really, you just want to tear me down. I have not tried to tear you down, Allison said, tears visible in her eyes now. Not once. Not ever. All I wanted was to have a nice conversation. That's all. A nice conversation, Harry said bitterly. There's no such thing. Not for people like me. Maybe, Allison said quietly. The problem isn't everyone else. Maybe you need to look at how you're approaching these things. Harry's eyes went wide. Are you seriously blaming me right now? I'm not blaming anyone, Allison said. But you walked in here with your walls up, ready for a fight. And when I didn't give you one, you created it anyway. That's not what happened, Harry insisted. Then what did happen? Allison asked, her arms spread wide. Tell me. Explain to me how any of this has been okay. Harry opened his mouth, then closed it. For a moment, he seemed at a loss for words. Then his face hardened again. You know what? I don't have to explain myself to you. I don't have to explain myself to anyone. You're right, Allison said, nodding slowly. You don't. But maybe you should want to. Maybe you should care about how you make other people feel. Other people, Harry said with disgust. That's all anyone cares about. Other people's feelings. What about mine? Your feelings matter, Allison said, and despite everything, her voice was still kind. They absolutely matter, but so do everyone else's. You can't just steamroll over people and expect them to take it. Harry grabbed his microphone pack and started pulling it off. I'm done here. I already said the interview was over, Allison reminded him. No, Harry said, yanking the wires free. I'm leaving. I'm walking out. That's your choice, Allison said calmly. "You're going to regret this," Harry said, pointing at her. "You have no idea who you're dealing with." And there it was, the threat, the entitlement, the belief that his status put him above consequences. Allison's expression didn't change. "I know exactly who I'm dealing with. Someone who forgot that being royal doesn't mean you get to be cruel." Harry's face twisted. "You have no right to speak to me that way." "I have every right," Allison said, her voice strong now, all traces of tears gone. "Because in this studio, on this show, everyone is equal. I don't care what your title is. I don't care what family you come from. You treat people with respect, or you leave." "Fine," Harry shouted. "I'll leave. This whole thing was a mistake anyway." "I agree," Allison said quietly. "It was." Harry turned to storm off the set, but the microphone wires were tangled. He yanked at them, his frustration visible. A sound technician rushed over to help, but Harry pushed his hands away. "Don't touch me." The technician stepped back, hands raised. Everyone was watching now, frozen in this awful moment. Finally, Harry got himself free from the wires and threw the microphone pack on the ground. It hit with a loud crack. "There, happy now?" Allison didn't respond. She just stood there, dignified, composed, even as her eyes glistened with tears. Harry looked around at the crew, at the cameras, at the studio that had suddenly become hostile territory. "You're all the same, every single one of you." Still, no one spoke. What was there to say? "I hope you're proud of yourselves," Harry continued, his voice echoing in the silent studio. "Ganging up on me like this. Real professional." "Nobody ganged up on you," Allison finally said. "You did this to yourself." Those words seemed to hit Harry harder than anything else. His face contorted with rage. "How dare you? How dare you say that to me?" "It's the truth," Allison said simply. "The truth?" Harry's voice was climbing to a shout again. "You don't know anything about truth. You're just a talk show host reading questions. Someone else wrote." And there it was again. The dismissiveness, the contempt, the fundamental belief that he was somehow more important, more valuable, more worthy of respect than everyone around him. Allison took a deep breath. "I think you need to leave now." "I already said I was leaving," Harry shot back. "Then leave," Allison said, her voice firm. Harry stood there, clearly not used to being spoken to this way. His mouth opened and closed, like he wanted to say something else, something cutting, something that would win this confrontation. But what could he say? He had already shown everyone exactly who he was. "This isn't over," he finally said, his voice low and threatening. "Yes," Allison said, meeting his eyes directly. "It is." For a long moment, they stared at each other. The entire studio held its breath. Camera operators had their fingers frozen on their equipment. Producers in the control room watched their monitors in disbelief. This was actually happening. This was real. Harry finally broke the stare, looking away first. He turned and started walking toward the exit, his footsteps heavy on the studio floor. But he couldn't resist one last parting shot. He stopped, turned back, and said loudly, "I came here in good faith. I tried to have a conversation. But you people, you're impossible. You're all impossible." Allison's voice was quiet, but it carried through the entire space. "We're not impossible. We're just not going to be treated like we don't matter." Harry's face flushed again. "I never said you didn't matter." "You didn't have to," Allison replied. "Every word out of your mouth said it for you." Harry looked like he wanted to argue, wanted to defend himself, wanted to somehow salvage this disaster. But what defense was there? The cameras had caught everything. The crew had witnessed everything. There was no spin that could fix this. "You'll edit this to make me look bad," Harry said, a last desperate attempt at control. "We won't need to edit anything," Allison said. "You did that all on your own." That was it. That was the final straw. Harry's composure completely shattered. You're going to pay for this. All of you. I'll make sure of it. The naked threat hung in the air. Several crew members looked genuinely frightened. This had gone from uncomfortable to potentially dangerous. Allison's hand moved to the small panic button hidden near her chair. I think you need to leave, right now. Or what? Harry challenged. You'll call security? You'll throw me out? If necessary, yes, Allison said calmly. Harry laughed, but it was a harsh, ugly sound. Perfect. Absolutely perfect. This is going to make one hell of a story. For once, Allison said, we agree on something. The studio doors burst open, and 2 security guards entered. They had been called by the producers, who had seen enough. This needed to end. Sir, one of the guards said professionally, we need you to come with us. Harry's eyes went wide. You're actually throwing me out? Me? We're escorting you from the building, the guard clarified. Please come with us. Harry looked back at Allison one more time. His expression was a mixture of rage, disbelief, and something that might have been embarrassment. This isn't over, he said again. Yes, it is, Allison repeated, her voice tired but resolute. The security guards positioned themselves on either side of Harry, not touching him, but making it clear that his options were limited. Walk out with dignity, or be escorted out without it. Harry chose to walk. He held his head high, trying to maintain some shred of dignity as he left the studio. But everyone there knew what had really happened. Everyone had seen the meltdown, the entitlement, the complete lack of self-awareness. As the studio doors closed behind him, the entire crew seemed to exhale at once. The tension that had been suffocating them for the past several minutes finally released. Allison stood there for a moment, her hand pressed to her chest, breathing deeply. Then she looked up at the crew, at all the familiar faces who had witnessed this disaster. Is everyone okay? She asked, and that was so perfectly Allison. After everything she had just endured, her first thought was for everyone else. Murmurs of yes and we're fine came from around the studio. Someone started clapping. Then someone else joined in. And within seconds, the entire crew was applauding, showing their support for the host who had stood her ground against someone who thought his title made him untouchable. Allison's eyes filled with tears again, but this time they were different tears. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you all. The floor manager approached carefully. Allison, are you all right? She nodded, wiping at her eyes. I am. I really am. That was just, she paused, searching for words, a lot. You handled it perfectly, the floor manager said. Absolutely perfectly. Allison gave a shaky laugh. I'm not sure about that, but I did my best. Your best was more than enough, another crew member called out. Allison smiled, that genuine warm smile that everyone loved. Well, that's certainly not how I expected this morning to go. Nervous laughter rippled through the studio. The tension was breaking, slowly but surely. Should we, someone asked hesitantly, should we go to commercial break? Allison looked at the cameras, suddenly remembering that this had all happened during what was supposed to be a live interview. Are we still... She couldn't finish the question. We cut to commercial when things started getting really heated. A producer's voice came through the speakers. We've been running pre-recorded segments. Relief flooded Allison's face. Oh, thank goodness. I thought, she laughed again, I thought all of that just went out live. No, the producer confirmed. We protected you, and we protected the show. Allison nodded, composing herself. All right, then, she took a breath, let's figure out what we're doing for the rest of the program. The crew sprang into action, grateful to have something concrete to focus on. They scrambled to rearrange the running order, to fill the time that was supposed to have been the interview, to salvage what they could of the show. Allison sat back down in her chair, her hands shaking slightly. A makeup artist rushed over to fix her face, to hide the evidence of tears, to make her camera ready again. "You're amazing," the makeup artist whispered as she worked. "I don't feel amazing," Allison admitted. "I feel shaky and upset, and I can't believe that just happened." "But you stood up for yourself," the makeup artist said. "You stood up for all of us. That's amazing." Allison met her eyes in the mirror. He was so angry, so full of rage, and I don't even know what I did to deserve it. "You didn't do anything," the makeup artist assured her. "Some people, they just carry that anger around with them. It's not about you." "It felt very much about me," Allison said quietly. "I know," the makeup artist said gently, "but it wasn't. Not really." They sat in silence for a moment while the makeup was perfected, while Allison pulled herself back together, while the studio buzzed around them with activity. "Ready to go back on?" the floor manager called over. Allison looked at herself in the mirror one more time. She looked calm, composed, professional. You would never know that minutes ago she had been fighting back tears while being berated by a guest. "Ready," she confirmed. The countdown began. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and Allison Hammond smiled at the camera like nothing had happened, like her morning hadn't just been completely derailed, like she hadn't just been through one of the most difficult moments of her career. "Welcome back," she said, her voice warm and steady. "Now, we've got a lovely segment coming up next about something I know you'll all love." And just like that, the show went on. Professional, polished, perfect.